views and opinions expressed do not necessarily reflect those of Access Fort Wayne, the Allen County Public Library, or any other supporting groups. If you'd like to produce a show, call us at 260-421-1250.
Let me be your lighthouse so I can show you the way. Let me be your shining light, I'll keep you from drifting away. I'm the one that makes you try when...
Hello, this is Patty Hunter of Patty's Page. Today's special guest here in our home studio is State Senator Tyler Johnson of Indiana.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Thank you. Thank you. Welcome to my show.
Appreciate being here.
You know, congratulations to the Republican Party for winning the 2024 elections.
Yeah, it's a pretty big day.
And what do you think of that?
Man, it was pretty awesome. I was up all night watching the results, but it's pretty impressive what happened throughout the country, and Republicans in Indiana and throughout the U.S. kind of cleaning the table. So
Yeah, the swamp. The swamp?
yeah.
And thank God for Donald Trump for being the president-elect. Maybe formally sworn in as the 47th president of the U.S. of A. So you like this, don't you?
Yeah. Trump's been interesting to watch, and I've been scared for him for a while. You know, they went after him and a couple of assassination attempts now, and so it was great to see his resiliency and stand up. And
He's like a tiger.
second president to be non-consecutively elected, which is a hard thing to do.
Yeah, he's like a lion, strong man. So, are you going to go to the inauguration to see it with your family?
I haven't decided that. It will be in session here in Indiana, so it's difficult to get away from that. So I wouldn't miss that to go. But if we have a break or if there's an opportunity, I would like to go.
It's thrilling to be a part of the GOP. I'm so excited for you, kiddo.
Thank you. Thank you.
Now, you were elected when 2022.
November of 22, yep.
And what's your... How many more years before the next election?
So Indiana Senate, we have 4-year terms, so
Okay.
22 to 26. So my next primary will be May of 2026, and
My
then
birthday?
and then November will be up for general election again.
I hope you win. I know you will. You're excellent, you
I
know?
appreciate that.
I know. So what district do you work in, and what is its boundaries?
So we're District 14, which is Eastern Allen County and the majority of DeKalb County.
Oh.
We kind of cut out St. Joe Township in Allen County and then have most of southeast Fort Wayne otherwise.
Oh, that's a lot of territory.
It is a lot of territory. It takes me about an hour and a half to get from the south side to the north side of my district.
Do you tour or something like that?
We do. I try to visit many different places throughout the year to see what my district's like, but I grew up right here in the middle of District 14, so I'm pretty well versed in what the neighborhoods and communities are.
And has it changed the boundaries again? How many
It won't-
times?
Every 10 years they look at that, so it won't change for a long time.
So, the duties of being a state senator of Indiana. Just tell me, what do you do for us?
Yeah, so state senators, all the legislators in Indiana are part-time. So we are mandated to be at the State House from January until April on even years, and then January through March on odd years. So that's why it's considered part-time. So we're not, they can't call
So
us.
it's even years now.
Yeah, so we'll have a long session, but we have to pass a budget. That's our main mandate. And then we write all the legislation and vote on all the laws that occur in Indiana. So, anything from road funding to stadiums to schools, we do the funding formulas for and write the laws for, things from traffic to medicine. So, been a part of dozens of pieces of legislation. I've had was real successful getting a lot of the things I planned on getting passed my first year. And I was real blessed by that. And then last year I brought a lot of pieces of legislation that needed more work on. So we've been working on those through the summer and working through those as we go
Name
into
a couple.
session.
I know you have a whole raft.
Yeah, so probably the biggest piece of legislation I started with, my first bill, was a ban on surgeries and medications for transgender procedures in minors. And so that was the first bill I passed, and it was a big protection for kids. So it was a pretty cool thing, and a lot of support of my colleagues, and was able to get that done fairly easily here in Indiana.
Is it my imagination, or do some hospitals here in Indiana do the operations gender?
Yeah, I'm pretty concerned that there are
Children's or
there's definitely adults. I was concerned that there were children being having surgeries done, which I'm fairly certain were occurring. I don't know that there's many here in Fort Wayne, thankfully, but I do know in Indianapolis there are some. So thankfully, our hospitals are not participating in that.
clamping down, making sure they
Yep.
get rid of that stuff.
And now it's the state watching to make sure it's not happening. And so that's, one part's passing legislation, another's enforcing it.
How about abortion?
The abortion, Indiana had a really good abortion bill the year before I started, the summer before I started. So I went and testified on that, but we haven't really readdressed that or looked at any of the portions that we need to shore up, like mailing of the abortion pill and things like that we need to look into further. So there's a lot of that still needs to be looked at and discussed.
We need more education about what this pill does.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, to the baby and to the mom, because she could die as well.
I think one of the big pieces too around that is education on what actually abortion is and what it's not, and what healthcare actually is available. Women can get all the healthcare they need in Indiana today.
I'd like to know more about the education that they're teaching in schools. Like some of them, the teachers would teach things without the parents knowing. Is that right?
Yeah, that's kind of a generality, but we want kids to focus on the core things, reading, writing, arithmetic. There can be extracurriculars in there. We clearly have some bad actors that want to push a political agenda rather than education, and so trying to figure out how we tamper down some of that is difficult, but we want great education for everybody.
That's
and
right.
When that's a distraction from that.
Parents should be the ones to tell the teachers, not the teachers tell the parents, right?
Well, we clearly have this being hidden for the most part, or trying to be hidden, and that tells you a lot of what you need to know. Should be able to be discussed out in the open, and
That's right.
as a general topic, I think it wouldn't last very long if it wasn't hidden.
Because I did several shows about gender bending, trying to make kids think that they're male or female other than their own real biological sex, right?
Yeah.
That's awful.
Yeah, and it's tough. Those kids are in a tough spot anyway, and there's a lot of emotional trauma and some mental health issues often there
Mental health.
that aren't addressed, and so we want that to be the focus of care rather than mutilation or other surgeries.
Do you help the mental mental care people, like the behavioral hospitals like Parkview.
Yeah, I mean they're trying to help, but you know a lot of these people in medicine you get caught up in like I just want to help somebody, and we're afraid to tell people what the right answer really is, and we tend to want to just affirm things rather than explain, hey, you're
You're wrong.
well, yeah, and that's hard to do. That's a hard stance to take, and
Yeah, so they don't like anything
and you want to
negative.
walk people along, but if you just affirm the delusion, then you kind of keep going down that route rather than actually treating the underlying problems.
Well, I've been interviewing over the years people educating the public, especially about mental illness or gender bending and all that sort. These people are the experts. I don't tell people here what to do. I ask questions to these experts, and they're the ones that are like teachers talking to my audience. So, kudos for them. And elections, you worked on elections?
I did. Yeah.
Doing what?
The committee or during elections day? Which do you mean?
Both?
Both. Yeah. So I sit on the elections committee overall. So we work on how elections are shaped. Think of things like voting machines, the number of days of elections, the mail-in ballots, all those. We've got a pretty good system here in Indiana. You know, we have probably. I don't like the long period that people vote in. I think people that are absent or homebound should have an opportunity
Yes, that's right.
to vote. But also, the more you spread out that time frame, the more likelihood you have opportunity for fraud there. So we got to find a happy medium between those two.
You need an ID.
Yeah, voter ID is extremely important. We want people to be certain in their elections. So when I show up on voting day or I'm working the polls, I want to know that person that's voting is legally able to vote. Because the last thing you want to do is count somebody's vote that shouldn't be there.
Like an immigrant that came from another country without being...
Well, and even you may be here legally and not legally be able to vote.
Well,
and so there's lots of reasons for that.
We're here legally, but we can't vote because we're not U.S. citizens, and that's what the elections are supposed to be for. Citizens of the United States who are born here, you know what I'm saying?
Yep.
Foreigners like us, Canadian. Anyways, we couldn't vote because we don't have a dual passport thing.
And it becomes really dangerous when people lose faith in the election process. And so we want to make sure that that's as secure as possible. But we also have a mandate that if you're legally able to vote, it should be as easy as possible. And I don't think any of the processes we have in place now are a hindrance, and we have an overabundance of opportunity to go vote.
Pepper. How about the shut-ins? How can you help them, especially in wintertime?
Yeah, so there are opportunities now. I don't get many complaints about people having the opportunity to do mail-in or early voting the way things are now. So I don't hear about that often.
Do you hear from people like us, elderly people during the wintertime, not for voting, who need help? Other organizations besides Neighborhood Link, other places that help people who cannot go out and do things.
Yeah, and I think that's a really important opportunity for our churches and our private organizations to get around. The government has a role in being a safety net and a backstop in that, but the government really doesn't do anything well, so we don't want to rely on them for those type of functions. We tend to not get a great product. It's just a nature of the system, and so when private citizens step up and provide those kind of things, we have a much better product.
We encourage people to help each other. We're not alone. We're not a mountain by itself. We need each other. We should help each other. We're each other's brother and sister. That's why we need to help and love our next door neighbor and family. Right?
Right.
So, health and provider service. What do you do?
So that's a committee where we discuss all the topics from insurance to who practices what type of medicine, to who, how things get paid for, what services can be offered in Indiana. There's a broad range of topics that are covered there, all in the healthcare sphere.
Yeah.
And as a physician, that's right up my alley. And so I tend to spend a lot of time working on those issues.
Do you work with not work? Do you work on people as a doctor who do not have any insurance? How can they pay for your services?
So I work at a nonprofit health system and we're a private group, but there are opportunities to help pay for things. Healthcare is expensive. It's not necessarily a right here in the United States. And so, you can't force somebody else to take care of you for something.
It would be nice.
Yeah. So, but it's one of those things where we expect people to cover their bills as they're possible, but we want there to be good charity there in the same process.
I understand that the providers, they're starting to take back discounts next year.
Well, it depends what you're specifically talking about, but
Insurance.
there's
Yeah.
looking at insurance and things like that on a whole. What we're doing now is not working. The way we're doing government, welfare and Medicare, the ACA, it's all broken, and people are afraid to touch it because people are afraid to talk about it, and we don't want more of the same thing that's broken. And so that's what's being talked about, is expanding all of those things so more people are on them. We don't want more of the same.
Wait, how many bills with this health provider stuff have you passed yourself or authored?
Dozens.
Dozens?
Yep. So we've worked on a lot of good things, from cancer care to, like we talked about, the transgender surgeries for minors. The big thing I'm working on right now is prior authorization reform. So when you have insurance and your insurance says that a procedure or a medicine is available to you, and then when you go to get it and they tell you, well, you need prior authorization for this.
I had that.
But your doctor says you need it.
I know.
And your insurance says they cover it, but there's
That's
this
right.
weird delay, and it may take months, if ever, it getting approved. And so
Sad.
most people abandon that process, and it causes a lot of administrative cost in the issue. And
And
so
a lot of stress on the people who need the procedures done. Because
So-
has anyone passed on because the government?
oh, I'm sure of it. So all we're trying to do is limit the services that can have that prior authorization process, and improve the timeliness of it getting done, so that there's not all this back and forth and ridiculousness built into the system that harms patients.
That's right. Do we have enough doctors and nurses here in Indiana? Do we need more?
We have a shortage of both nurses and physicians across the United States.
Oh shoot.
And so it's a big issue. It's going to get worse as people age. And so we're going to have even bigger issues coming forward to make sure that we have enough people to help.
So how can we get the younger generation to become interested to?
Yeah, medicine's hard. Being a physician, it's not easy. It takes a lot of schoolwork, and it's long hours, and it's a commitment, a lifelong commitment, because it takes a lot out of you to go take care of people the way we do, and the
if you have a
stress.
family, it gets pooed up, man.
Yeah, and so
But it's worth it.
it is worth it. And I try to encourage young folks, high school kids, college kids, to look at medicine. I was just at university here in town last week talking to college kids to say, hey, it's still worth it. There's a lot of outside forces there that say,
Without them, we would not live a long life.
yeah, and we probably over rely on medicine to some extent, but we need it to be there when we need it.
You have a website for people to contact you.
Our state house website is what I direct almost everybody to. It's iga.in.gov, and you can search for me there. And then we also have a email address there that's d14@iga.in.gov.
We'll have that on screen. That was quick, man.
Yeah, sorry.
You have that memorized very well.
I'd say it a lot.
So, being a doctor, what positions at the hospital do you cover? Like, what, director or something?
So I'm an emergency physician. That's my full-time job. So I work in the emergency department helping direct a large ER here in town. And then I help with, as an ER director, so managing the department outside of those time frames to help with staffing and, patient complaints and all different kinds of things to make sure that we're taking good care of people. It's challenging in today's world with all the, shutting down of departments and
COVID.
yeah, there's a lot of things that have really put some strain on our hospitals.
COVID.
COVID was a tough one, yep. And
At
COVID,
least you managed to get, is it back again?
there's some signs of viral infections, but
Weird.
it's not what it once was. But it's still problematic and it spreads pretty quickly.
Yeah, should we get COVID shots?
I really leave it up to everybody personally whether they feel they should get vaccinated. They should talk to their doctor about that.
Yeah, that's good.
Yep.
Flu shots, we need that. So improving patient safety, especially in the hospital or what do you call those? Senior homes and stuff. How do you work there?
Yeah, so I get a lot of, in my legislative role, I get a lot of calls about, I went to this hospital, I didn't get great care, or can you help with this, or can you help with our bills? So I do a lot of that on the legislative side, but also on my day job too, to make sure that we're trying to take the best care of everybody we can. As an emergency physician, our job's impossible. You're supposed to catch 100% of everything all the time and have zero mistakes. That's just an impossible job.
It's like saying you're not supposed to have emotions.
Right. And
What do you do?
and have tough cases and things
Right.
like that. And so we do try to do our best, but there are things that happen that are unexpected.
Yeah.
It's crushing to doctors, so supporting those physicians when that happens. I will tell you that most physicians, when they're surprised by something, they're as devastated as the patient or the patient's family when it happens. And so we should hold doctors to a high level, but we should also support them when things in today's environment. I think COVID had a lot to do with this. There's not a lot of trust in medicine, and there's a lot of angst and kind of almost anger at the system.
It shouldn't be the system. Shouldn't be anger towards the system because we're all human. We make mistakes. I know. We're trying our best.
Yeah.
It's like an experiment. Like I felt like a guinea pig when I got those shots, because we never had it before, right?
Right, and that's why I say that it's up to you to decide, what your risk
How you
level
react
is,
to
and
it, yeah.
and whether you want to do that. And we can't make generalities of that on a whole. So,
Yeah, Canada's doing that deliberately.
yep.
That's my country. So, what would you like to say to my audience? What would you like to share?
Just to, keep supporting good people in office. It's not an easy thing to give up, your full-time job and go meet with folks on a daily basis. I've got 5 or 6 meetings set up today, and
Don't worry.
but you give up time with your family and things to do that, and it's a calling to go serve. And so support the people that are in office, despite whatever side of the aisle they're on. I definitely have a preference for that, but it's a cool thing to
But
do.
cooperate with both sides.
Yeah, and
That's nice.
treat people like they're human.
Are they? Anyways, I'd like to thank you, sir, for coming to our home studio, for being on Patty's Page TV show. I'd like to thank you so much, and thank you.
Thank you.
And thanks for coming over.
I appreciate it.
See you next week, God willing.
Godspeed, my love, until we meet again. You're always in my heart and every dream. Don't let this time apart give in to all our fears. God will keep us close from up above. So until we meet again, Godspeed, my love. God is with us always, for the rest of